Hi, I'm Vickie Wilder, and I'm here to show you some of the basics of sewing and help you to learn that it can be very easy and it can be very simple and you can have a great joy and it can be very helpful along the way, especially if you have children who rip out that button, pull out that hem. Those are very minor and easy fixes to make. When I was a little girl, my grandmother instilled in me the joy of sewing, and I love to show people what I have learned and how it has helped me along the way. I used to sit and watch her cut out patterns and make beautiful, beautiful clothing, and just amazed me at how she did that. And I thought, well, I want to learn how to do that. And it also helps carry on the legacy of her name. Okay, we're going to start with some of the basic tools that you will need. You will need a pair of fabric scissors, and it doesn't have to be an expensive pair, just scissors that are for fabric only. You do not want to cut paper with it because paper dulls scissors. And when you start to cut fabric with it, you'll know if anybody has cut paper with these scissors because it will not cut your fabric correctly. Another very helpful tool is a very small snipping scissors, and these are great to have at your sewing machine when you're snipping threads, just maybe snipping corners or snipping curves. So these are a real good pair, and like I said, they don't have to be very expensive. A seam ripper. These are great little tools. They're very simple to use. Maybe later on we can talk about how to use a seam ripper effectively. This is a needle threader. This can be very helpful because the eyes on those little needles are very small. And then everyone will need a tape measure, which is great. Just remember that over several, maybe a year or so, whatever, you need to replace that because they do stretch after a lot of wear because they are plastic. A hem gauge, if you're doing a hem, this is a great little tool. It has a slide bar on it to make sure that your hem is even around your garment. You will need pins, good little pins. They don't have to be expensive, just good pins are great to have to hold fabrics together. And then your machine needles. Machine needles come in various sizes depending on the fabric that you're using. Your basic sizes are 12 and 14. Those are generally the ones that you will use. You'll use a smaller one like a 9, 10, 11 for lighter weight fabrics, and it goes up to 16, 18 for like your denims and your upholstery fabrics. They also have different needles for quilting. They have different needles for upholstery, embroidery, top stitch, jersey. Like if you're making t-shirts, they have needles for that. You will want to make sure you have the appropriate needle for the fabric that you're using. Your thread, 100% polyester thread is really good for most of your projects that you're working on. I have a model here. And everybody says, what is that bottle for? It is for old needles. You don't want to throw an old needle or an old razor blade in the trash can for somebody to pick up and get cut on or stuck with. So when you change a needle, or if a pin has broken or is bent, open it and put it in this bottle and keep it till the bottle's full, and that way when you throw it away, it's a good safety issue. A pair of tweezers, I have found these very helpful whenever I can't get my finger in the machine to pull the thread out, or just those little close areas that you want to get out pulled. The tweezers are great for that. Your manual is your friend. If you're having issues with your machine, it'll have troubleshooting guides in the back. If you have issues trying to get it threaded or don't understand a stitch or a length of a stitch, your manual is just your go-to. When you want to keep it really handy with you. Your iron and your ironing board. Those are wonderful tools. If you're doing a hem, I remember watching my grandmother take a hem and put pins all around the back of that hem. And when you put pins in fabric, sometimes it takes up some of the space and it doesn't lay flat. But if you'll take that iron and press that hem down, it's even, it's smooth, your seam is smooth, and your hem looks really nice. Now, bobbins, all machines take different bobbins. And you want to check your manual to make sure you get the right bobbin for your machine. One other thing that you might like to add to your supply is a thimble. They're great for whenever you're doing hand sewing, like just mending to kind of push the needle through the thread because it can be stubborn sometimes and it can protect your finger. Here's a box. It's just a school box, an expensive school box, and it's great for keeping your supplies in. You don't have to go buy some expensive big sewing case. Okay, now we're going to talk about our sewing machine. If you'll see, I've got my little handy scissors hanging here, and this is just a little command strip that we have put on the machine, and you can hang your scissors on there, and they're very easy and accessible whenever you get ready to sew. This is your hand wheel, and you always turn it toward you. You don't turn it back away, you always pull it toward you. Even if you're trying just to raise your needle, you always want to turn it toward you. This is your stitch selector. And your manual, as I showed you before, will have what all these stitches are. Refer to your manual for that. And this is your stitch length. This is how wide you want your stitch, depending on what you're making. If you're just kind of wanting a basting stitch, you'll want it to go all the way to like 4, the longest stitch. 1 would be your shortest. And it also has on here, a lot of machines have buttonhole makers. Here it is on the selector dial, and here it is here. Refer to your manual on how to make a buttonhole. This is your stitch width when you're doing a zigzag. It will show you where to do your width, because sometimes you'll want to finish an edge and you can use a zigzag stitch for that. You use Zigzag Stitch to sew on a button. You didn't know you could sew a button on your machine, did you? It's very simple and it's great. This is for your bobbin. We will talk about that in just a little bit. This is the different stitch selections right here. Your needle. Your presser foot. This little button right here, that is your reverse stitch. That's how you lock a stitch when you start it, and that way it would not come out. That's the different parts of your machine. Here is your presser foot. This is what you will run your machine with, and it's on a cord. And on the side of your machine, you plug it in right here, and then you'll plug it into your electrical outlet, and you turn the machine on with a little black button here on the side. Now I want to get it set up where we can show you how to thread the machine, how to thread a bobbin, and make a few little small stitches so you can see what's going on with it. First, we're going to thread our bobbin. Now you need to get your spool of thread, and if you wonder, how do I get the thread off? If you'll look at the top of your thread, there's a little slot, and see my handy little tweezers? You'll take and pull that back, and you can see the thread right there, and you take and you pull your tweezers, and you pull that thread off. There we go, I got it. See, it's pulling off. Take this, and we're going to go underneath, and we're going to slide this on the back thread holder. And we're going to put this little space on there that'll help hold the thread on. Now, on the top of the machine, it gives you instructions on how to thread. You want to pull it in this little silver slot right here. Make sure it snaps. You'll want to clip the end of your thread to give you a sharp point. Okay, on your bobbin, you will see there are a little hole right here. Now, you're going to take your thread and you're going to thread it in that little hole. Now see, it's through the little hole. Now you're going to take and put it on your shank here, that is your bobbin threader, and you're going to pull it toward the little stop here. Now on the side of your machine, on your hand dial, you need to take and pull that hand dial out. That stops your needle from going up and down. On your presser foot, you want to give it just 2 or 3 little spins like that. And then you'll want to go up here and you'll want to clip that extra thread off. And then you just need to keep going. And if you'll do that, see it's threading it up. I'm not going to fill it up. I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to push my lever back, pull the bobbin off. I'm going to clip my thread between my bobbin, my thread spool, and my tension for this, because whenever you pull that through, that does not mess up your tension as it would if you pulled it this way. Okay, now you've got your bobbin done. And then you must remember to go back to your hand dial and push it back in to engage your needle. Okay, now we're going to thread our machine. All right, not all machines are alike, but most of your new machines will have your guides on where to go with the thread. You'll see this arrow right here and this arrow, and there's several up here on top. All right, we're going to go back here and we're going to make sure it pops. Going to come forward, follow the arrows, and come around here, and we're going to make sure it catches in our little lever right here. come down, and on our machine, there's a little loop right here, and you're going to put your thread behind that loop. Now, at this point, you can either thread the machine yourself, thread the needle yourself. Some machines, and they can be a little temperamental, have self-threaders. You want to make sure your thread goes behind that, and then up in here, and then just pull it. And see, it didn't do it. So we're going to try it one more time, and if it doesn't work, then I'm just going to thread it myself. It didn't work, so I'm just going to thread the machine, thread the needle. There we go. And then you just pull your needle through your thread through your needle, and you push it back toward the back out of your way. Now we need to put a bobbin into the machine. Now, when you're holding your bobbin, you want to pull it toward you like this. Now this little case right here, it has a little black lever. You just need to pop it open, pull it toward the inside of the machine and pop it open, and you have a little cover. On my machine, on this machine, it's got a little arrow right here telling you how to pull it. All right, you see how I'm pulling that thread? You drop it down into your machine, and there is a little slot right here. You want to make sure that that thread goes in that slot and pull it back. Now, you take this thread in your needle, pull it forward, and turn your hand dial toward you, and it should pick up that bobbin thread and pull it up. See? Now you got your bobbin thread and your other thread on top, and you want to take it behind your presser foot, and you may want to clip that a little bit, get some of that excess off. Okay? Now you need to replace your cover. Just put it in place and just gently pop it back down. And now your machine is threaded, ready to sew. Now let's see if we can make a few stitches. We're going to take and lay our fabric. It's just black cotton, simple, easy, not expensive. On your machine, you have several different seam widths. There is a 1/8, and I usually use, when I do a 1/8 seam, I usually use the end of my presser foot for that. And we're going to go slow, and I'm going to use my reverse. Just hold it down, and it'll go backward a couple, and then it'll come forward, and just hold it gently. Again, there, it gets there. And I'm going to lock it again. All right, now, okay, when you're through sewing your stitch, you will want to take your hand dial, and you'll want to turn it until this lever is all the way up. If you do not do that, then when you start to sew again, it will unthread your machine, your needle. So now that we've done that, we raise our presser foot with the black lever in the back, and we gently pull it out. Take our little scissors and snip. And then you've made your first stitch. And that's a 1/8 inch. Most of your garments call for a 5/8 inch seam allowance. And you have that measurement on your machine. All machines have it. It's just embedded into the plate on the machine. Now I'm going to do one and show you. If you will look, it says 5/8. And even on my bobbin cover, it has 5/8. So I'm going to put the edge of my fabric on that 5/8 line, drop my presser foot. I'm going to do a couple of stitches, hit the reverse, lock it, and then go forward, release, and just gently guide your fabric through, reverse, and then forward. Okay, now you see my lever is down, so I don't want to stop it. I want to turn the dial all the way toward me till that silver lever is up. Raise your presser foot, gently pull, and snip. See, you have a nice 5/8 inch and 1/8 inch seam there. Now let's try our hand at a zigzag stitch. They're very easy. Just remember, you do not reverse on a zigzag stitch. All right, we're going to lay it down, lay our fabric down. I have chosen C on my selector dial because that's the zigzag stitch, and I have got my width set on 2. All right, let's start. Now, my lever, I want to turn the hand wheel and get my lever all the way up, which raises my needle, and I'm going to change my stitch width to a 4, and let's see how wide this stitch is. Okay, now we finished that. Now I'm going to take and turn my hand wheel toward me till my silver lever is all the way up, which raises my needle. Raise the presser foot, gently pull your fabric, and snip it. As you can see, we have different widths of our zigzag stitch, and that is great for when you're sewing buttons on or if you want to finish an edge. I thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you have learned some little something out of this tutorial, and I look forward to hearing about how you have enjoyed and have learned some stuff and how it is encouraging you to sew. Hope you find the joy in sewing as I have. Thank you.